I think the introduction is going to be longer than my remarks. So you won't be delayed for lunch too long. Honored guests, speakers, participants in this wonderful international conference, and especially the Deputy Chief of Mission of the United States Embassy, who's joined us today. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the John F. Kennedy Foundation of Thailand for Thai-American Friendship. This is not only an occasion for celebration of the important contributions that began half-century ago in Ban Chiang, but it's also an opportunity to reflect on the history of the site, which Dr. Pisit has so eloquently reviewed for us. But it's also a reason for a renewed focus on the impact and the significance of Ban Chiang for the future. The foundation, I'll say it shortly, it's a long name. The foundation is gratified to have been an early participant in the activities that have made this a year of celebration, remembrance, and new directions. And it looks forward to continuing its involvement in new and exciting ways. Many of you were not yet born when the foundation was established. I think maybe more than half of you here. And some of you were either not born or still in your early childhood when the foundation first became involved in Ban Chiang. So since we are looking and have been looking back at the past and to move into the future, I thought it might be appropriate to review the timeline from the foundation's involvement in Ban Chiang and archaeological activities in the country. In December of 1963, where were you? Was พ.ศ. 2506. Following the untimely death of our United States President John F. Kennedy, Dr. Thanat Khawman, who was then Minister of Foreign Affairs, used his personal funds to establish the John F. Kennedy Foundation of Thailand. This was done to honor the late president's memory and to foster the principles and values that he promoted. In the years following, the financial support for the foundation's activities came through contributions by the Thai government, the American government, private donations, and the interest in financial institutions. What's the interest these days? 1%. In those days, 10%, 14%. So there was lots of money to do lots of good things. Now it's not even 1% sometimes. In 1984, that's พ.ศ. 2527, the name of the foundation was amended to the John F. Kennedy Foundation of Thailand for Thai-American Friendship. And this was an important amendment. Dr. Thanat remained foundation chairman from its inception until early this century. And every American ambassador to Thailand during the same period served as co-chairman. Many of you are aware that Dr. Thanat passed away in March, just shy of 102 years old. Kun Sukhum Nawapan now serves as chairman of the foundation. The John F. Kennedy Foundation of Thailand for Thai-American Friendship supports proposals under 4 programmatic themes. And see how Ban Chiang fits into these themes. One focus was on public service, youth and education, and service to mankind, perhaps a little far from Ban Chiang. But expanding understanding of the Thai-US relations, there's something there. Promoting Thailand's and US scientific and technological collaboration. That's pretty much Ban Chiang, isn't it? And particularly encouraging a deeper appreciation of the cultural heritage of Thailand and of the United States. So given these programmatic focuses, it's not surprising that the foundation should have considered Ban Chiang worthy of support. And this entrance into the Ban Chiang activities demonstrated how binational cooperation between Thailand and the United States has produced some spectacular results. The treasure that lay beneath the village of Banchiang and nearby areas, the hard work of Thai and American archaeologists, scholars, and the dedication of American and Thai institutions, and the generous support of the governments of the two countries, all came together in this effort we call, for short, Banchiang. As you heard earlier from Dr. Pisit, excavation by Thai and American archaeologists under the supervision of the Fine Arts Department, analysis and organization of artifacts through the University of Pennsylvania Museum, exhibitions arranged by the Smithsonian Institute. All of these things contributed to the worldwide acclaim and interest that resulted in Banchiang's being recognized as a World Heritage Site by the United Nations. Memories have faded with time, and many of the elders of the museum and the foundation have passed. But there are still some recollections of how the foundation became involved, especially with the help of Dr. Pisit. I have a little bit of that history. About 15 years after Stephen Young's famous stumble that began it all, the foundation discussed with the Department of Fine Arts the possibility of supporting an addition to the small government museum already on site in Banchiang to house artifacts from the archaeological excavations, and particularly the artifacts that had been given to the Smithsonian Museum, the Smithsonian institution. And they took it on a national tour of museums in the United States and even to Singapore before coming back to Thailand. And coming back to Thailand, where would they be housed? The intent of the foundation was to contribute 1 million baht, or thereabout, for a structure that would commemorate the 7th cycle birth anniversary of the Princess Mother in 1984. For those of you who are not astrologically oriented, the 7th cycle is 80 years for the Queen Mother's 80th birthday. The architectural division of the Fine Arts Department drew up plans for a building that would cost about 1 million. Eventually, it was closer to 5 million baht. And that was in 1983 and 84. Think of what it would have cost today. The foundation agreed to provide the funds, and in March of 1983, 2506, Dr. Thanat, along with the foundation's co-chairman, U.S. Ambassador John Gunther Dean, laid the foundation stone for that building, which you will probably see when you go out to Banchiang tomorrow or Saturday. The building was completed just a year and a half later in August of 1984, right on schedule. I had the privilege of attending that opening ceremony of the museum. Ambassador Dean provided an airplane to transport foundation members and a number of Thai and American guests from Bangkok. I was struck by the contrast between that modern building, the high-ranking guests at the opening ceremony, and the surrounding rural community that to me said, "This is Thailand." To me, it was a seamless merging of the old and the new, the modern and the traditional. Later on, during the 80s and 90s, and in the early years of this century, the foundation has supported a number of projects related to Banchiang as well as to other archaeological endeavors. Among the major projects of the foundation was the funding of American Fulbright scholars to teach archaeology, anthropology, and art history in Thai universities. This was done through joint support of the Thailand-United States Educational Foundation, for short, the Fulbright Foundation. Under this program, archaeologists like Douglas Anderson, William Ayres, and David Welch taught or worked with the new generation of archaeologists and anthropologists at Silpakorn University, Mahidol University, and Prince of Songkla University. Perhaps some of you were colleagues or students of these scholars. Any of you? In addition to supporting people, over the decades, many important publications also received support. Dr. Pisit's monograph, Prehistoric Studies, the Son and Middle Ages in Thailand, was published in 1988 through support of the foundation. Not quite Banchiang, but archaeology. The monograph Sankalok Trade, the sunken ships found in the Gulf of Siam, written by Dr. Chanwit Gasetsiri and Supapon Charatpat, was published in 1993, 2536. And then in 2003, 10 years later, longer, 2546, we were able to fund an analysis of the human skeletal remains from Banchiang, written by Michael Pietraszewski, who is here with us and who will probably talk about this later on. The foundation not only supported that volume, which was pretty heavy, it also had a companion project which presented over 400 copies of this volume to colleges, libraries, college libraries, museums, faculties of archaeology and anthropology in institutions throughout the country. Hopefully some of you have read or have at least seen this work. I do believe we may have some remaining, and if any of you would like to leave me your name and address, the foundation will provide you with a copy for your organization, department, or faculty. It's worth a read if you are into skeletal remains. While the major efforts over the half-century have been aimed at bringing the past into view and gaining an understanding of it, we now have the opportunity to seek links to the present, to find answers to questions that have intrigued so many. Maybe you've asked these questions. Who were the people of Banchiang? Where did they come from? Are they still here? If not, where did they go? Or are some here and elsewhere? Well, the technology to answer these questions is now available, and a project setting out a blueprint to find out the answers to these questions, and a team of researchers are ready to embark on this exciting adventure. Perhaps joining in this effort would be of interest to those of you who have been working with the Banchiang of the past, those of you who were personally involved in activities during the past 5 decades, or whose institutions contributed funds, personnel, equipment, or time in seeking answers to the earlier questions. The kind of support that we saw during the first decades of Banchiang, the cooperation of governments, the collaboration of institutions and scholars, and the supporting through budgets. Such is the kind of cooperation that is required for this major project, and one that would ensure the success of this new inquiry. The next speaker, Ajahn Waruda Surat, will outline this project. Shall we call it the future for the present of Banchiang? I'll venture a guess that you will be quite excited, and you will perhaps want to get involved in some way. The John F. Kennedy Foundation of Thailand for Thai-American Friendship has already raised its hand and expressed interest and readiness to provide partial support. Hopefully the foundation will be joined in a national, binational, and even international effort to jointly seek the answers to these questions that have been proposed. I'm sure that Ajahn Waruda will provide details to your queries about the project and the possible future direction for the study of Banqiang. Excuse me. I'm happy to end my remarks, and Ajahn Pisit will be happy to hear gratifying news for the museum, for the conference, and in part for the project at hand that has come from an old friend of Thailand who's been away for a long time. I wonder if you are acquainted with Robert J. Muscat, who served in the USAID mission during the 1950s and 1960s. They called it USOM in those days. And he returned to Thailand later as an economic advisor to the National Economic and Social Development Board. He has a great affection for Thailand. He has written many important books about Thailand. And he, knowing that this conference was being organized, decided that he should be returning some Banqiang artifacts that he acquired before it became illegal, before people knew it would be illegal. But he will return these to Thailand, and they will be presented to the museum. And perhaps one of the items will be important to the project under consideration. It's a bangle with the bone of a child's arm that Dr. Muscat's wife was not comfortable putting out. So it's been carefully kept in a box, waiting to come home. And when it comes home, it may assist in finding answers to the questions that we have posed. And we actually may find that somehow we're all members of the same family. That's the ancient family that was here in Banqiang, but maybe also part in the Middle East and part in the United States. And then we won't have to argue with one another because we know we'll be all the same family. So since I told Dr. Pisit I was going to say just a little bit, I've said my little bit, and Ajahn Warada will give you an outline of the project that is so exciting and hopefully will excite you as it has the foundation. Thank you very much.